Alrighty, now this is 045 Notes Part 2. We're going to start graphing some quadratic functions, and we're going to apply what we learned in Part 1 into Part 2. So I'll try to keep it short, as short as I can here. We're going to do 4 problems. So our goal here is we want to graph this function f of x equals 1x squared minus 4x plus 2. I'm going to first teach you the long way. This is what we're putting practice in here for. So we know to find our x value in our vertex, we do minus b over 2a. So minus a negative 4 over, because we know this is our a, our b, and our c, over 2 times my a value, which is 1. Minus a negative 4 is really positive 4. And 2 times 1 is 2. 4 divided by 2 is 2. So my x value on my vertex is going to be 2. To find the y value in the vertex, we're going to take that 2 and we're going to put it into x in each one of the x's we see above. So my y value is going to equal 1 times 2 to the power of 2 minus 4 times 2 plus 2. I put that into the calculator. So 1 parentheses 2 close parentheses squared minus 4 parentheses 2 close parentheses plus 2. And we get negative 2. So our y value in our vertex is negative 2. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to plot that coordinate 2 to the right, down 2. And that's going to be my vertex for my quadratic equation here. Now once we have that, I'm going to erase what we have here. We know that 2, negative 2 is our vertex. So I'm going to make a little t-graph or t-chart and write 2, negative 2 in the middle of it. Now the two numbers that are above 2 are 3 and 4 on the axis. And the two numbers that are below 2 are 1 and 0. I'm going to plug in each one of them, though it was 0 in there, and for x, and then the 1 in for x, then the 3, and then the 4. So I put 0 in for x. 1 times 0 squared is 0, minus 4 times 0 is 0. 0 plus 2 is 2. So when I plug in 0 in for x, we get a y value of 2. Now I'm going to put 1 in there. 1 times 1 squared is 1, minus 4 times 1. So 1 minus 4 gets us negative 3, and negative 3 plus 2 gets us negative 1. You can put this obviously in the calculator. We put in 3 into it, we're going to get negative 1. And we put 4 into the x values, and we're going to get positive 2. These other ones are the other coordinates we need to plot onto our graph. So 0, 2 is the x-intercept. The y-intercept is 2. So 0, 2. 1 to the right, 1 down is the 1, negative 1. We already plotted our vertex. 3 to the right, down 1. And then 4 to the right, up 2. Now you want to connect it and round it out a little bit, the vertex, as much as you can. So you make a little shape of a U. Put a little arrow on each end. And we successfully graphed that quadratic equation on the graph. Let's do another one. So we have 1x squared plus 2x minus 3. So we start from the top to find that x value in the vertex. We know it's minus b over 2a. So minus a positive 2. Sorry, a, b, c. So it'll be minus 2 over 2 times 1, which is 2. Negative 2 over 2 gets us negative 1. Then we're going to plug that negative 1 in for the x's to find our y value. So 1 times negative 1 squared plus 2 times negative 1 minus 3. We plug it right into the calculator. One parentheses negative 1 close parentheses squared plus 2 open parentheses negative 1 close parentheses minus 3, and we get negative 4. So y equals negative 4. So our vertex is negative 1 comma negative 4. So we plot that point, negative 1 negative 4. We successfully found our vertex. Now in red, we're going to make our little t-chart. So you have x, y. We know that middle one is negative 1, negative 4. So two numbers that are less than negative 1 are negative 2 and negative 3. Then two numbers that are greater than negative 1 are 0 and 1. So I'm going to put 0 in. 1 times 0 is 0, plus 2 times 0 is 0, and 0 minus 3 is negative 3. Now I'm going to put 1 in. 1 parentheses 1 squared, plus 2 times 1, minus 3. Well, 1 squared is 1, times 1 is 1, 1 plus 2 is 3, 3 minus 3 gets us 0. So I'll plot those coordinates, 0, negative 3, and 1, 0, or those two dots right there. Now, parabolas, this is the right side of the parabola. It's going to be a reflection on the other side. So it's going to be this piece, but just like a reflection in a mirror, but it's going to go the other way. So at 0, negative 3, that means negative 2 is at negative 3, because it's that same mirrored effect. Negative 3 is going to be at 0, because that's the reflection from the negative 1. It's 2 to the right, so we go 2 to the left. Curve it out and try to make it look like a parabola, like that. So negative 2 is really negative 3 for our y, and negative 3 is 0. It's going to be a reflection. So from the center going down, those values going the other way should be the exact same output values, the same numbers. So next to the negative 4 is a negative 3 on this side, so it needs to be a negative 3 on that side. Two numbers away from that negative 4, that center point, is 0. So two numbers on the other direction is also going to be 0. So it's like a mirror effect. Let's do two more. This one is a little bit different. This one now, our a value is a negative 2. I bet you could guess what's going to happen to that graph, because our graph's gone up these previous two times when they were positive. Now that it's negative, I bet you'll know that it's going to go down. So I identify my a, b, and c. I do minus b over 2 times a, so 2 times a negative 2. This is to find my x value in the vertex. So negative 4 over negative 4, because 2 times negative 2 is negative 4. Negative 4 divided by negative 4 is positive 1, so that is my x value in the vertex. To find that y value, we put that 1 in for the x. Use my calculator, negative 2 parentheses 1 close parentheses squared plus 4 times 1 close parentheses plus 1. And we're going to get an output of 3. So my vertex is 1 to the right, 3 up, and I plot my point right there. Alright, now that we have that value of 1, 3, we know that's the vertex value. It's the one that's in the middle, 1, 3. So two numbers that are less than 1 are 0 and negative 1. Two numbers greater than 1 are 2 and 3. So I'm going to put 0 in for x. And when I do that, I get an output of 1. So when 0 is 1, the number on the other side of that 1 is going to be also 1. So we have 2, 1. I put negative 1 in. Negative 2 times negative 1 squared plus 4 times negative 1 plus 1. We're going to crunch that on the calculator. So negative 2 parentheses negative 1 close parentheses squared plus 4 times negative 1 plus 1. We're going to get an answer of negative 5. So that's negative 5, and that's going to be negative 5. So now we plot those other points. 0, 1, and negative 1, negative 5, 2, 1, so 2 to the right, 1 up, and 1, 2, 3, and then down 5 for 3, negative 5. Curve it out, make the best parabola we can. And there we have it. The parabola's now going down because there's a negative number in front of that x squared. Alright, one more before I show you the shortcut. So you have A, B, and C. Minus B, so minus of negative 1 over 2 times the A value of negative 2. So we have 1 over negative 4. Oh no, we have a fraction, not the end of the world. That's really the same thing as negative 0.25. So to go from fraction to decimals, we just type it into our calculator. 1 divided by negative 4. Okay. Yes. Cool. Now we're going to put that as my x value, so negative 0.25. My y value, well, we're going to put that into our equation, so negative 2 times negative 0.25 squared minus 1 times negative 0.25 plus 3. I'm going to put that into our calculator. Negative 2 parentheses negative 0.25 close parentheses squared minus 1 parentheses negative 0.25 close parentheses plus 3. And we get 3.125. Is my y value. So we can have decimals when you're plotting them. So my t-chart is negative 0.25 to the left and then 3.1. So it looks like it's about right there. We know that's the center. So negative 0.25 and 3.125 was our output. Now negative 0.25, if I go up, the next whole number or the next integer is 0 and then 1. The other next ones is negative 1 and negative 2. We plug in 0 into our equation and we're going to get 3. And then when we plug in 1, we're going to get negative 2 minus 1 gets you negative 3, and negative 3 plus 3 is 0. Next closest one. And we got to put in, since they have some decimals, it's a good idea just to put it in just to double check. So it'll be negative 2 parentheses negative 1 close parentheses squared minus 1 parentheses negative 1 plus 3. We get an output of 2, which is okay. I'm not expecting it to be the same because we worked with a decimal. So with 0 is not the same. The distance from negative 0.25 to 0 is a different distance between, other than negative 0.25 to negative 1. So I'm expecting those outputs to be a little bit different. When I put in negative 2, though, I think we might get back on track. So negative 2 parentheses negative 2 close parentheses squared minus 1 close parentheses open parentheses negative 2 close parentheses plus 3, and we get negative 3. Double check my work, and that's all good. All right. So let's plot those points. Negative 1, 2, right there. Negative 2, negative 3, and 0, 3, and 1, 0. And if we went a little bit farther, if we put in 2 of it, 2 would be probably somewhere around there. Actually, we had decimal. Anyway, we curve it out with the vertex on top. Curve it down. We have our parabola right there. Alright, so on the graphing calculator, the perk of it is that you can literally have the calculator do the graph, so you don't have to worry about the table and all those extra calculations. So what you do, you go hit your Y equals button. So you have your graphing calculator with your screen. The first button you're going to want to hit is the Y equals button, which is located in the top left hand corner of your graphing calculator. And when you hit your Y equals button, I'm going to get Y equals 1, Y equals 2, Y equals 3. What you're going to do, you're going to type in your equation. Let's say your equation was f of x is equal to 2x squared minus 2x plus 1. We're going to type that equation right into that graphing calculator. So in your y1 position, you type in 2x squared minus 2x plus 1, hit our enter. Then we hit our graph button to get the graph. Like you'll see, if that's possible to see. No, it's not. You get your graph, and then if you hit second graph, you're going to get your table of values. So I can bring up the table of values to plot out the table. And just to show you on this screen, the table of values, you're going to have an x, y, 1, and it's going to list all the numbers all in here and your output. So it'll save you some time. Instead of plugging them in one at a time, it gives you all of them at once. That's one of the perks of having a graphing calculator versus an old school grammar school calculator. Alrighty. So your classwork and your homework. Your classwork is going to be 045 CW1. Graphing quadratic equations. And your homework, oops, is 045 HW1 graphing quadratic equations. Those will be found on those Google forms there. Alright, I'm going to save this. That's all she wrote there. If you have any questions, email me or come next job. I'll be happy to help you out. All right, have a good night.